Okay, Tracy, we are live on YouTube.
Excellent. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining for the Environmental Committee meeting. Today's date is June 10th, and the time is 7:05. And we are here tonight to discuss the Bay Ridge local TNR programs and resources that we can communicate to the community. And we have a couple of presenters, and I would like to start with Paul Saunders from the Animal Care Centers of New York City. And welcome and thank you for coming to talk to us.
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate the invite. Glad to be here. Greetings on behalf of all of us at Animal Care Centers in New York City, including the almost 1,000 animals we have in our care right now across the city of New York, both in our shelters and in foster homes. So Animal Care Centers in New York City, I'll give you a little background, was founded in 1995, so we just finished our 30th year, to be the open admission shelter for the city of New York. Meaning we take in any animal that comes to our door. Now, we may ask for an appointment if possible, but we don't turn away any animal based on, the breed or the medical condition or the behavioral concerns of any animal. So we take them all in. We obviously have adoption services. We're a shelter, we do adoptions, but we also have a bunch of other programs and safety nets for the city of New York to be able to help animals stay in the homes with the people they know and love, with the people that love their animals. Our mission at Animal Care Centers in New York City is to end animal homelessness in New York City. And while we know that might be a really tall order, we're doing everything we can every day to try to reduce the homeless pet population in the city of New York. Now, in terms of some of those programs that we do offer, and I know that a lot of TNR stuff has been talked about in your local community, we don't directly provide TNR services because all of our medical services in the care centers are for the animals that are with us. But we do work with the ASPCA. We do have a community cat program. So for animals that are out in the cats that are out in the community, if there is a pressing emergent need to help with those animals, we can assist in that regards. We do have limited amount of trap rental ability, stuff like that. So if you do get appointments with the ASPCA or you're taking a cat to a private location to be spay and neutered, we can help with some of that stuff. One of the things that we also do is, we provide resources to keep animals in homes. So be it, certain medical stuff, food, supplies, things like that. So we are always here for the people of New York City, both four-legged and two-legged, depending on what type of animal it can be. Could be two. We get a lot of birds in. So we're always here for our community across the city. So I don't have a really formal presentation. I am willing to answer any questions about TNR or, that sort of stuff or anything that ACC does.
Just a quick question. What does
Sure.
ACC do fostering?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we have a very robust fostering program. We have over 700 fosters in our system right now. So we have an ask for a 2-week commitment at a minimum. Now, obviously, if something happens, you can always, bring the animal back. But we do generally ask for a 2-week commitment. And that's because, by the time the animal gets to your home, kind of decompresses, gets used to the environment, we really have fostering for a couple of different reasons. One is obviously to help reduce the shelter population. So then we're able to bring other animals into the shelter that are in need to come in. But also sometimes an animal might just be super stressed out in the care center if an owner surrendered the animal with wonderful notes and we're seeing that the animal is, not adapting well to the shelter, we'll want to send them out to a foster. Or if it's kittens with a nursing mother or kittens that have been separated from the mother, we try to get those into foster homes. Because again, it's just a better situation for them to, thrive. Anne wrote a question, what is TNR? That's trap, neuter, release, or trap, spay, and release. So that's what that is. And then,
Yeah.
other reasons, if an animal is sick or has an injury, again, animals hear and smell at a much higher level than humans. I know when I'm sick, the last thing I want is hear noise. I like to go in my bed, put the blanket over my head, and just leave me alone. Can't do that in a shelter, especially when your hearing and your smell is so much higher than a human, that it makes it difficult for them to convalesce and recuperate. So we try to get them into foster homes as well. And then the greatest thing about it, unfortunately, ACC sees a lot of strays, so we don't have any information on how these animals will act to try to get them adopted. So putting them into a foster home, now obviously we don't just take an animal and just put it into a foster home. We do some, basic assessments in the shelter. But what we see in the shelter doesn't always match what we see in a home, especially a foster home. And it gives us a lot of really good information. So we're able to really match the animals in our care with people who are looking for an animal to come into their forever home. Uh, Dino has his hand up. I don't know if you want me to do it or if you want to. Yeah.
Go right ahead, Dino.
Hi.
Hi, Dino.
Yeah, so I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So I'm a dog walker, so I'm out on the streets all day, and I come across all sorts of animals that need help, that are injured, or have been poisoned, or I've rescued everything from like rats and geese and pigeons.
Awesome.
So my question is, do you take all kinds of animals? Like if I found a wild goose, for example, that actually happened
Yeah.
a couple months ago, and I had I have my network of like rehabbers, but they're not always available. And
Right.
the Wild Bird Fund is really the only resource in the city.
And that's generally where we'll get them to,
Okay.
especially like a wild geese, a cormorant, things like that. We will get them all the way up to the Wild Bird Fund, which, being in Brooklyn, not an easy trek for you there. We
Yeah.
at least have our vans. We have the way to transport stuff like that. So yeah, that's always bring them into an ACC facility and we can get them to the Wild Bird Fund.
And like, there's obviously like baby rats and raccoons and things like that. Is that something you guys take as well?
So I will be perfectly honest. Anything that is a rabies vector, if it is sick, obviously, if it's in pain and looks like, it's not doing well, bring it in. But if it's a rabies vector and it comes in, we are required to, unfortunately, to put it to sleep because then you've had contact with a rabies vector. So it has to be tested for potential exposure. It's just the law of the city of New York.
So would that apply to like cats and dogs as well?
No, we will
But they can
hold.
carry rabies, right?
They can, but we can put them on an observation, and be able to hold them. Our facilities allow that, where raccoons, we don't have, that ability to do that in the care centers.
My only concern is that, there's a lot of animals that need help, and they rely on like underground networks of rehabbers because
Mhm.
of laws like this that aren't exactly helpful. Because,
Yeah.
the vast majority of the time, they don't have rabies.
No. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I agree with that. I totally agree. One of the things I've done for years at ACC was I am in charge of the bite reports and the bite report system and stuff like that. So no, but we do see them though. So it isn't that it doesn't exist.
yeah.
So unfortunately, these laws are not designed looking at the animals. It's looking at human health and safety. So that's the reason for them.
And then just my final question.
Sure.
Are you guys like a kill shelter? Like if a pet isn't adopted within a certain time,
Sure.
are they euthanized or?
Great. So, and I'll be perfectly honest, a lot of things out there about ACC, so I welcome the question. So, in order to be considered no kill, a animal welfare organization has to have a placement rate of 90% or higher for the animals that come into the year and into their shelter or their facility on an annual basis. I'm very proud to say since 2017, ACC has met and exceeded that 90%, and we're on pace to do that again this year. We do not, and I unequivocally could say this, no doubt, ever euthanize an animal for time that they're in the shelter or space that we've had in the shelter. So I just said at the beginning of this, I don't know if you were on, but I welcomed you all on behalf of the over almost 1,000 animals in our care. Our capacity optimally is around 650. So if we were euthanizing for space and time, we wouldn't have that overpopulation issue. Last year, I don't know if anyone heard, we were shouting it from the rooftops. It was on the news. We actually had to close our intakes for a few weeks because we had so many animals. But again, we're a safety net for the city. So if law enforcement or agencies came in, we have to take in those animals. So we still did that. In the weeks that we were closed to intakes, we still took in almost 700 animals over the course of that time. So anywhere from cats, dogs, guinea pigs, rabbits, birds, foxes, squirrels, you name it, we take them in. And the reason that you don't hear us ever say, oh, we're a no-kill shelter, is because we just have made a very deliberate decision to not use that term. And not that we aren't proud of what we've done, and we've done an excellent job at becoming a very progressive organization in terms of how we place animals and get them adopted and rescued, stuff like that. But in many ways, that term has been co-opted a little. So it's become what is supposed to be a really positive thing, almost used as a weapon sometimes. And we know we're a very large organization, and we have a lot of partners that aren't quite where we're at yet. So we don't want to be able to someone to say, well, ACC does it, why can't you do it yet? So we just talk about it when we have the opportunity. Our numbers are all out there. I do want to make one point, though, for people to understand that sometimes there are people out there who will take our euthanasia numbers. Now, absolutely, there are times that animals are euthanized because of behavior, and that is for extreme behavior. It's a liability, it's a safety issue to be sent back out into the public. And then there's also medical conditions, no thrivability, the end of life, stuff like that. But we are also, I mentioned safety net to the city. We provide low cost euthanasia services, end of life services for people who can't afford to take their pets for end of life services at a private vet. I don't know if anyone has ever had to go to a private vet, but if you have a large dog, let's say, and you have to go to a private vet, it could be $500, $600, $700 sometimes. ACC provides that service at a low sliding scale cost. The most we'll ever charge is $150. And I know personally, I think I can, in the 8 years I've been in ACC, I think once or twice I've ever charged that. I don't want to tell somebody, you can't have dinner tomorrow because you need to do one final compassionate thing for your pet. So that's important there. But sometimes what people will do is they'll lump the end of life service numbers in with the medical cases and the behavior cases and say it's this huge number when it's really not quite that. It's really two separate things. And no organization anywhere actually counts them all as one. They're always counted as two separate things, but people sometimes lump them together to make it look like there's an epidemic going on when there isn't.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
Okay, Anne, you had your hand raised?
Well, you are distinct from the ASPCA.
Yes. So actually,
Can you explain?
yeah.
Can you tell me
Yeah, sure.
what the differences are and maybe how you coordinate together or not?
Absolutely. We're a very big partner with the ASPCA. So the ASPCA, so I mentioned that we started in 1995. Before 1995, the ASPCA actually did the sheltering services in the city of New York. And in 1995, at the time, it was CCAC, Center for Animal Care and Control, and now ACC was established to provide the services across the 5 boroughs of New York City. We are the largest animal welfare organization in the city of New York. Obviously, the ASPCA is a larger organization. Best Friends Animal Society is a large organization headquartered here in New York City, but they have more of a national and even international scope where we're providing services just in the city of New York. We work very closely with the ASPCA, be it from they help us with pulling animals to our shelters, so they help adopt them. They help place them with rescue groups. They help if there's cruelty cases. They're very instrumental in that. They help us with funding, sometimes. homes. So they are very, very much a very much a valued partner to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Richard?
Hi.
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 So a few years ago, there was a ban on the sale of guinea pigs and other small animals in stores, and I know that
Yep.
led to a really big decrease in the amount that you guys saw there at the ACC. Now, and actually last year as well, there was a bill introduced in City Council to ban the sale of birds in pet stores. I'm wondering if you guys are playing any role in getting that passed, or if you're supporting that at
Yeah.
all or anything like that.
Yeah, so so yes, absolutely. The sale of guinea pigs and rabbits has seen an almost 80% reduction in the amount of guinea pigs and rabbits that have come into the shelter. Matter of fact, I was in one of the care centers today, our small animals rooms, which has enough room to have like 12 rabbits, 20 guinea pigs. We had 2 guinea pigs in the entire room. So, we've seen a tremendous decrease in the intake of them. In terms of the bill that is being brought forward, yes, ACC is in the process right now of writing a memo of support for the bill. We do take in birds. We don't take in as many as cats, dogs, and other things. But again, our mission is to end animal homelessness. And if animals have to come to us, that means that they're homeless, and anything we could do to help stem that tide. So we are supporting the bill.
Great, love to hear it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm. Hey, Tracy, I don't see,
That's one thing.
I'm sorry, Larry has a question. Yes, Larry?
Difference between spay and neuter.
So
Uh,
spay is females, neuter is
No.
boys, females. It's sterilization.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
So Tracy, I just want to add that, thank you so much, Paul, for your presentation and for answering questions. So I spoke to Paul after our last meeting, our environmental committee meeting, when we were discussing some of the local issues here with the feral cat population and really coming together to really understanding what resources are local, what resources are abroad, to kind of put them together, since we do get a lot of questions in the district office. And a number of years ago, we did have a Girl Scout troop in the district who put together a resource guide for community members in Bay Ridge, Dyker Heights, and Fort Hamilton to kind of take care of the local animals in our community that may be in need, and made a listing and a directory. And it's probably 15 years old at this point. And our conversation last month was a real starting point for the committee and discussion, and putting together another resource guide and really understanding what resources we have. So I reached out to Paul, I reached out to some local people, and got to meet and speak to Jackie, who is here today, to talk to us a little bit about and maybe answer some questions if she could, to talk about some of the resources we have locally, and how we can perhaps, people who are interested. There was some interest in TNR, how people could get training locally, or what other resources are available. And I know ACC has some that Paul had just mentioned a little bit about it. So Jackie, I don't know if you wanted to add, or I appreciate you coming out today and see that you're on the call.
Unmute.
Jackie, you're on mute. You would have to unmute. I don't know if her, let's see.
Can't do that, can you?
Jackie, could you?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, I could hear you now.
Great, great. So the resources that we have for Trap Neuter Return is through doing an online TNR workshop through Neighborhood Cats. That would be the first step to learn about Trap Neuter Return. We do need new people learning about it and actually helping with the cat crisis that we're having here in New York City. So there's an online workshop that takes about 2.5 hours of your time. It's a $10 workshop. After you take the workshop, you do get certified to receive services of discounted spay and neuter for these feral cats. And you could also use a trap bank to borrow traps. Since I am local and live in Bay Ridge, I do train people in the neighborhood on their first trapping. So after you take the workshop, I am more than happy to train anybody on how to trap a cat. If you have any questions about trapping, I am more than happy to help people when I do have time. It is just a very tiresome time right now, as it is kitten season, and unfortunately kittens can and will get pregnant at 4 months old. So that's the bigger problem we're having right now.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. And Jackie, thank you so much for looking at the list of resources that people have been sending in since our last meeting and kind of vetting through it. And I really appreciate your help. Also, we learned that the mayor's fiscal year 27 budget does not include any funding for spay and neuter or pet food
Or pet
pantries.
pantries, yeah.
And the community boards have an opportunity each year to advocate for services in the municipal budget. We do it through a district needs statement and a list of capital and expense priorities. And so when I learned of this, I was very surprised actually that it didn't include any funding. I thought there was some funding levels in the city's budget. So, I mean, I think that's something, Tracy, that we could certainly bring back and advocate during, the month of October as a board. We have lots of priorities in all areas, parks, the environment, but certainly here at home, that would be, something that I did take note of.
Yes, I think that's an excellent idea as far as, getting it onto the needs statement if possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty important. Jackie had mentioned to me there's a vibrant volunteer community, but we do need volunteers. We hear it in the district office. We get concerns about, stray cats or feral cats. We hear about, as you mentioned, birds and, deer. And we had a call, a couple weeks ago about a skunk that looked like it was in need. And, for us internally, having that referral list of where to go when people call us and are frantic, I think will be really helpful in developing this. So I would say to committee members, if there are resources that you know about, we have an awesome intern who's actually a CB10 member and a member of this committee who's not here tonight, Stephen, who's going to be helping with us. And I just want to share too that I know Paul sent over some resources, and Jackie has agreed to help us here too, to take a look at our list that we compiled, just to make sure that we're accurate and putting the right info together. And I think that's going to be a fun project for us to report back in September once it's done.
Is it Ed? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just going to share really quick. I just want to show everyone what the last guide looked like. It was like a little pamphlet just to give everyone a sense of, we went back and found it in the office, just the cover of it, in your own backyard. And it was just filled with numbers and information. And again, it was a scouting, project. So this is the kind of pamphlet we're looking to put together that we could share with community members that are interested. Certainly being able to refer them, recommending and letting them know how important TNR is in our community. And I think that's the real call here, is to get volunteers and help, for so many people who are doing a bulk of this work. And if they can't be out there, there are ways to help donate and support. And there's a whole community out there that I think we should recognize in Bay Ridge. So just wanted to share that with you.
And Josephine, is that something that we could add to the resource page on the website?
Yes, absolutely. Once it's done, that should definitely be there.
That would be great. Jackie, is there anything else that you would like to add as well?
No, I just think that we do need the community to be a part of this. It is a tiresome time for rescuers. There's only a handful of us in the neighborhood that is actively doing TNR, and we do need the help.
Great. Well, I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And you as well, Paul. Thank you.
Can I just add one quick thing? I just
Yeah.
put, I think I just sent it. I'm not sure if I did, but yeah, I can't chat. It says, but the Neighborhood Cats link, if you go to neighborhoodcats.org, you could find stuff there. But because you're all involved on the community board, you obviously have a pulse on your neighborhoods. I mentioned earlier before everyone got on, I actually sit on Community Board 3 in Staten Island, so I know what the reach of a community board member can be. ACC, one of the things that I do is I'm in charge of public engagement, so community outreach. So if you all have any other organizations that you know of where you think it would be beneficial to have ACC come down, talk. I oversee the community kids program. So going into schools or having school groups come to us, have them reach out to me, or you reach out to me, or, I'd be more than happy to discuss ways to come in and get into the neighborhood in Dyker Heights and Bay Ridge and Fort Hamilton. So I actually just signed up for an event at Fort Hamilton to do in July for our outreach teams. So, I'm more than happy to be part of the community in that regard as well.
Thank
Thank
you. We really appreciate it.
Okay, Margot? Oh, you're on mute?
Board member.
No, presenter.
Hello?
Yes, hi, Margot.
Hi. Hi, Josephine. How are you?
Good.
Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Margot. I am the owner of My Natural Pet in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I also am the only one that actually offers cat trap rentals in South Brooklyn. It is a resource that is invaluable to our TNR network partners, and a lot of people still don't know about it. So I think it's important that somehow we get people signed up to take the courses and come rent the traps. This way we can get more feet on the ground and get the TNR system moving a little bit better in our neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods.
That's a great idea. I think we can add maybe, we have an e-newsletter. And, we could certainly mention it at our next board meeting and kind of do a focus on it. I know a lot of the TNR people where I live have moved on or retired. And I know that's a real need. So I think spreading that word, I appreciate that, Margot, because I think we should definitely focus on that and spread that word as the community board. Good suggestion.
Yes, I mean, it is an initial deposit to rent the traps, but it is completely refundable as long as they bring back the traps within a timely manner. And they also need to be TNR certified. So this is the thing. I have a lot of people who are calling that just want to rent a trap. They don't know how to use it. They don't know the proper techniques. They have no guidance, and we can't just lend out traps to people who are not experienced, because then they'll be used improperly. So I think it's important that we can somehow engage people in signing up and learning how to do TNR, whether it's actually being out there in the field trapping a cat, or if you can transport somebody who's doing TNR to and from a vet, if you can help recover a cat that's been spayed or neutered. There's many ways to help in the community other than, being out there actually trapping. I mean, even that's great if you can do that. Not a lot of people have the time to do that, but we need people to do that. We need people who can transport. We need people who can help recover. There's many legs of it. I personally can't be out there trapping cats, but I have a business where I have enough space to keep the traps, and I'm able to provide the service to the community because this is something that's close to my heart. So this is what I'm saying, that, even though if you can't get out there and do it, you may be able to help in other ways. So when, you're putting together your pamphlet or your notices to try to engage the community, that's something that I think is important to be stated.
Okay. Will do. Thank you, Margot.
Thank you. I
You're
think that's
welcome.
a very valid point, especially for the transportation.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the people that are involved in the TNR in the neighborhood, a lot of them work really well with one another. And, one will drop a cat at the clinic to be spayed and neutered, another will pick it up, one will recover it. They work together very well in this way where they get the job done.
But they
So
need more. Need more.
we need more people. We need more people doing it. That's the problem. There are always the same people who are doing it, and they're burnt out because there's so many cats right now, and they just keep multiplying because there's not enough people out there, and there's a lot of people just feeding. That's also
Yeah.
part of the problem. They're just feeding and feeding and feeding, and they're not addressing the spay neuter aspect of things, and that is very important. I did have a question, well, maybe a few questions for Paul, regarding what resources are available to our active TNR people in the neighborhood. So, can you maybe explain what exactly the ACC can provide, our rescuers? Whether it's food, stipends for spay neuter. You also said something about food for, aside from the TNR aspect of it, we also support our local pet pantry. So we continuously give donations to Kiso's Pet Pantry, who they host events once or twice a month. They help the seniors in the neighborhood that can't afford food. They help, non-seniors. They have usually separate days. And we also collect donations from our clients, from our neighbors, from our distributors, from everywhere we can in order to donate to Kisos, to help support our community better. So I guess it's a dual part question where what can we do? What resources can you offer? Like specifically, if you could bullet point the resources that you can offer our TNR community, and also what resources specifically can you offer our seniors and our just anyone in the neighborhood who cannot afford to feed their pet?
Yeah. So, in terms of TNR itself, there is not a whole lot that ACC could do. Where we do have the ability to help is if somebody is doing TNR and there's an animal that is sick or is in an area that, there's construction or there's some type of danger to the community cats. That is when we're able to help with, relocating or getting the medical help beyond just the surgery. That is one thing there. In terms of the food, we have a whole community resources program for our community pets program in our community resources department, excuse me. And we do vaccine clinics, microchip clinics, pet pantry, stuff like that. So we're always looking to do these events. But if somebody can't make it out to like our event or even another event in the community, if they write into us, and you could go it through me, we can get drop shipments sent right to the person through either Chewy or Amazon if they're homebound, especially with seniors or people with disabilities. Because again, we want to keep those animals in the homes with the people they know and love. And especially for our older adult population, we know that having an animal in the home is tremendous for them. It helps reduce isolation, increases socialization, especially, as people get older in place. Family might not come around anymore, friends are passing away, things like that. So that animal becomes really a linchpin to future success in just life. So we want to do everything we can in that regard to keep that. So that is something that people can always reach out. But if there's people who just need help because, lost a job or they have to move for whatever reason, that we can help with as well. We also could help, and again, this is for older adults as well as anyone else, but people who are going into short-term medical facilities, rehabs, things like that. We have some ability to help with that. On the flip side, people who are going to be incarcerated, but a family wants to take the animal but can't take it right away, Or unfortunately, right now, we've seen a little more with immigration actions, being able to help out those people who we know a lot of times are not going to be able to come back for those animals. So, we do a lot of different things in terms of, helping out those that need help for keeping their animals in their homes. And then, Mark, the other thing too is that, again, my outreach teams, if there's ever a time that you wanted us to maybe come down and visit the store, set up a table, talk about it, or even go further than that, we could potentially talk with our mobile adoption team about setting up a mobile adoption event outside your clinic, outside your store, which always is nice because then you have the ability to kind of pitch your services to, new adopters and stuff like that.
I appreciate that, Paul. I actually have hosted many ACC events.
Yeah, I thought so. That's the name sounded very familiar.
Yeah. So I haven't in about a little over a year, but I feel like there's a whole new team.
Yeah, we have a new team mostly.
So the direction has changed a bit, and I feel like it's really difficult to get the truck to the shop at this point. So, I would appreciate maybe you can help me get them back to the store, schedule an event. I would love to do that. It's usually very successful when they come to the store. So we love doing that. We also usually send you guys home with lots of donations.
Nice.
As well. But, I would also love for you to come just to educate the community if that's what you do.
We definitely could do that. My email address is the easiest email address to remember is communityoutreach@nycacc.org.
Great. I would love to get in touch with you and
absolutely
set something up.
It'd be great
to do all those things. But I still have a question about the TNR aspect of it.
Go ahead. Yep.
That's kind of what my purpose here is today. Because I do work with the community. I host adoption events with the local 501c3. I have an adoption event every month for cats. And we work with the trappers in the neighborhood. So again, I'd like to be a little more clear with what you offer the TNR community. So you said that, let's say there's a case where there's, many cats on a property. So let's say there's 100 cats on someone's property.
Yep.
How can you help?
So we cannot go on private property. So that's the first thing. So we can't just go on there and start rounding up cats. We're just legally not allowed to do that.
Of course.
What we'll do is try to start having conversations. Now, generally, when there is 100 cats, there is probably an action or a behavior that's causing that to happen. So we want to try. Yeah, so we want to try to mitigate that as much as possible. And to the point saying is people are just feeding, they're not pulling up after a half hour, so the food sits out all day, which causes a whole bunch of other problems, stuff like that. They're not using plates, they're using the cans, people get cut. So it's a whole bunch of issues. And so it's education in that regard. And then if the person, is willing, we can try to work with our partners to try to get them space to, get some of those cats spayed and neutered. We obviously don't want to just remove it because if it's more than one person feeding, it's not going to solve anything if we're just removing cats, because more cats will come in. As people said, 4 months, they start reproducing. It's, as quickly as 63 days, once a cat gets pregnant, they can have another set of kittens. So it's an ongoing cycle. So it's really on our end, it's about that education, how we can help to connect them to other resources. And our community cats team is the ones that really do that. There's they can email communitycats@nycacc.org. There's a short questionnaire, kind of like, asking, where it is there a feeder? Is there someone taking care of the community? Is there anything, an emergency situation? Is there any danger? Things like that. And then they make an assessment and they go from there.
So what if, let's say the trappers have already started doing work at this location.
Yep.
And it's just to the point where they can't anymore. Financially, they can't do it.
Yeah.
There's just too many sick animals. There's too many
Mhm.
sick cats. There's too many dying kittens, and they don't have the resources or the bandwidth to continue.
Yeah.
And there's many more to be taken care of. So, like, how can you help with that?
I don't want to give an actual answer because I don't have the full scope of things, and I would be perfectly honest, the best thing to do is either send me over an email and I can direct it to our community cats team, or email the community cats team and CC me on it. I'll be honest, CCing me on things sometimes gets responses a little quicker.
Right.
So I would say that would be this, because again, it's very much individualized. A certain situation in one spot might be different than another, even though it's generally the same kind of situation. You know,
But
if
do you
there's a lot of
provide, like, so for example, would you provide medical care? Would you provide medication? What,
so generally we don't, because our contract with the city only allows us to use our veterinary stuff for in-shelter type of clinics, so for in-care animals. So we will work with other places and try to get you appointments and things like that, but we per se are not going to be the one to do that.
so there's no budget through the ACC for the
No, the same. No,
TNR
TNR.
trappers.
Nope.
No budget
No.
there.
Nope. It's the
So
same as everywhere else.
so that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a problem. And it became an even bigger problem. Not that this was the only problem that came out of the pandemic. We saw some momentum happening before, and then we had what, 2, 3, 4 years where nobody was out there or very little was being done. So the population just re-exploded, and we're just now trying to re-navigate those waters again to try to take some control of it. But as you said, you know, there's places that, you know, hundreds of cats in one general area. I'm on Staten Island, and there's one area in Staten Island that I know of. There's probably 350 cats that live in the woods there.
Right. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's the thing. So how do we combat this problem when there's no resources and there's no people doing it?
You know, I think that it's you know, again, you know, getting the word out, trying to really have a call of action to you know, get people involved, as well as, you know, having people calling their local elected officials, calling the city council, calling, you know, assembly members, and just to bring attention. I think is a big way to make some difference. Now, I don't think that that is going to, you know, move the needle to the point where we're going to solve the community cat problem and TNR. But I think anything we move in that direction is a positive step.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you both. I appreciate it. Margot, thank you for your questions.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Paul.
I know that
I'll be in touch.
Dino,
Looking forward to it.
thank you. Dino, you've had your hand up.
Yeah, this is more of a comment to earlier in the discussion about the pamphlet with animal awareness resources that we're putting that together. Is that what you said?
Yes, yes.
So would it be possible to include something about traps and poisons? Because I come across a lot of like glue traps, and seeing an animal in a glue trap is really disturbing. It's a very painful and slow death. The same goes with poisons. I see, you know, like the blue rat poison. That stuff should be banned. The glue traps were banned. People still use them. The poison should be banned as well. They're just really brutal and inhumane. Basically, it's an anticoagulant, and you bleed out from the inside very slowly and painfully. So, you know, rats and all sorts of animals get into it. Kids get into it. Dogs somehow find the poison. So, you know, there just needs to be more education on, if you absolutely have to use it, and so far as it's legal, then use it responsibly. And really just trying to dissuade people from using it altogether. And, you know, there are other methods of getting rid of rats and unwanted think creatures, in your house than, just killing them in very inhumane and brutal ways. So I just wanted to
Okay.
mention that.
Okay, thank you, Dino. We'll try. Yep. Jackie, I'm sorry, you had your a note in the chat that you couldn't find the hand raise function, but you had a question?
Oh yeah, I had a question for Paul. Can you elaborate a little bit for everyone to understand your surrender, your pet surrender, and what New Hope Partners are, how New Hope Partners are involved?
Sure. Yeah. So we're an open admission shelter. So that means that any animal that comes to our doors, we have to take in. Now, we will try to set appointments, but if there is someone that is a pressing need or somebody found an animal and they can't take it home, we'll obviously take it in. There is, if you're an owner surrender and you don't set an appointment, there is a fee. If you make an appointment, it's not, charged. But we work with over 350 New Hope partners, as Jackie said. And those are mostly rescue groups or other, shelters and animal welfare organizations. So while we have the brick and mortar buildings where people come in and adopt, we also work with these groups to send animals to them, because they might have a very specific niche that they work with. It might be senior cats. And if somebody's looking for a gray senior cat, we have it, they might pull it. Or if somebody is looking at for dachshunds, and we don't get dachshunds in that often, but when we do, there are a couple of groups who are like, we'll take that dog. So we work with them as well to get them placed. It's a highly important part of our work, because any successful ecosystem, animal welfare ecosystem in any community needs to have both of these working well. So obviously, most of those rescue group stuff are limited admissions, where I say that we're open, because they don't usually have large brick and mortar buildings, but it's full foster based. So they'll pull as needed, or as able, or when there is a specific need. So that is important to have that scale of the amount of rescue groups. But as we see our population high, so do these groups. They're pulling and trying to do everything they can, and not everyone pulls just from New York. They're pulling from other parts of the country, which I totally understand. We're very fortunate at ACC. As I said, our placement rate is over 90%. It is the complete opposite in some other parts of the country. So pulling animals from those parts of the country are super important in terms of life-saving work. So that's where we have to find that balance as well with our rescue groups as to what they have open and available. Yeah. Does that kind of answer it, Jackie? Or?
It does. I just
All
want to
right.
make sure people are aware of what
Yeah,
is.
great. And you guys do great work. I've seen your name 100 times. So
Thank you. All right, Tracy.
Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I don't see any other hands raised.
Well,
So, oh, I'm sorry, there's something in the chat. What if it's a hoarder house and they leave bowls out all day? I guess that's a Paul.
yeah. So that's obviously a difficult thing. So one, if they're leaving food out all day, that's usually becoming some type of sanitary issue as well, whether it's in a building or a standalone home. But if we get the call, if somebody calls through 311 and we get it, we'll go out. We'll usually partner with the ASPCA at that point, and sometimes the NYPD, depending on what it is. And then we make an assessment. And we have a special case team. We actually have social workers on our staff that help work with that. So again, we always try to come from a very non-judgmental place. So if somebody has 100 cats in their house, it's generally because they feel that they're doing the right thing to help these cats. When we all look at it and say, this is way beyond what would be considered normal taking care of an animal. So we want to make sure that we're sensitive to the needs of the animals, obviously, but also the people we're working with. So we don't want to just walk in and say, you have to give away all your animals because that's the right thing to do, because that'll automatically shut down the conversation most of the time. And we want to be able to develop a rapport, a trust, a situation where there's a mutual respect and relationship.
I'm sorry. Can I just want to speak off the chat for a second. Do you mind?
Yeah, we could take, yeah, we have a little bit, few more minutes. Jackie, if you had another question.
So this hoarder house is, like I said, the bowls are out all day with the wet food, but the concern is you can say it's all well and good that they have 100 cats in the house and it's all about their feelings as well, but having 100 cats in a house is not feasible. It's not feasible for the animal because now the animal is interacting with all these other cats and it's not mentally stable for them.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying that we wouldn't do anything to try to mitigate that circumstance, but we would try to make a plan to start the process to get those cats surrendered. We would not be able to take 100 cats in at one full swoop. We just don't have the capacity to do that to start with. So we have to work with other groups, might be the ASPCA. We'll sometimes work with other rescue groups. Last year in Mill Basin, there was that house with 100 small dogs. We worked with a bunch of different rescue groups to get those all placed. There was an apartment in, I think it was Rego Park, Queens, if I'm not mistaken, with 40 Belgian Malinois dogs, huge dogs. We worked with, our rescue partners because we just can't absorb all in one shot right at that moment, all that. So we develop a plan. So when we get this and it comes through to us, we have to have a very precision operation on how to do this. And yes, obviously the animals, and the best thing for the animals is forefront in terms of this.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
because always my priority is for the animals, always, not necessarily the humans' feelings. More or less the animals, you know.
Yeah,
So
I get that. I get that. I get that. I understand that for sure. Absolutely.
Okay, we'll turn
Thank
it
you,
back to
Jackie.
Tracy, and I think that's it. We have no more hands up.
If we have no more questions, I think that we can just say thank you for everyone's input tonight. I think this, there's a lot of information that is great. I learned a few things myself, which I appreciate. So if there's no more questions, I will go ahead and once again say thank you, and we can adjourn for the evening.